Welcome back. This is Face to Face on ChannelOne Television. My guest is the Honorable Kojo Oppong Nkrumah. He's former Minister for Works, former Minister for Information, Member of Parliament for Ofuase. We've been talking generally about the performance of the Mahama government, and he has an issue with a bill that is going to come up, which has not even come up. And I'm going to ask him, where did he get it from? Did he now intercept that bill? And is that what happened? But before then, so the economy is doing well. Mahama Ato forcing is forcing. Bad news for you as a party, is it?
It's only an evil man who will say that if an economy is stabilizing or quickening the pace at which it is stabilizing, it should be bad news for him because he's on the other side of the political divide. That's evil. I think that the exercise to restore stability, if you look at the data, not my opinion, but the data, is quite clear that it was aimed at ensuring that we can get an economy that the people of God are happy with. As I mentioned to you earlier, from 2017 to 2020, our economy stabilized. Growth was on the high end. It was expanding. Jobs were being created. There was turbulence. By 2022, in fact, by 2021, we started an exercise to try and bring back the stability. So we started introducing a number of programs to bring back the stability. I can assure you that today, those programs are still being implemented. Some of them, there have been tweaks in how they are being implemented. And the results are bearing fruit for a lot of people
and these
to
are
see.
Technical
and
things
so,
by the BOG or policy issues by the ministry?
I'll come to answer that one. But I'm saying, therefore, that to say that you are not in power today and it is bearing fruit and therefore you are pained by it or it's bad news for you, you'll be an evil person to that. We are not of that disposition. I think it is good that the programs that we are rolling out as a country, some of which started on our watch, some of which are new and being introduced by this administration, I think it's good that they are bearing fruit. They should bear fruit to that level where now there's some resilience in the stability that we bring to bear of the Ghanaian economy, so that no matter what happens, no matter the kind of winds that blow, we will not be overly affected. And that on top of that, government can build clear programs for growth, and private sector can also find themselves in those programs and place themselves well. I think that's where everybody wants us to go as a country.
What are the legacies you left behind that you believe are part of the fruits we are seeing now, or the foundation of some of the fruits we are seeing now?
So let's take inflation. We picked up inflation, if I recall, somewhere around 16% by 2017. And we brought it down to 7.8, I think, in 2018, and by 7.1% in 2019. And our target was to keep inflation under 10%. So if you look at the target, it was always 8 plus or minus 2. And we had done well until 2020, when the global cost of living crisis hit. And inflation as a result of that shot up as high as 54% in Ghana. Inflation was rising in many other parts of the world, maybe didn't get to our levels, but it shot up as high as 54%. So we started a program to bring inflation down. This inflation reduction program was mostly using monetary policy, by tightening monetary policy from the central bank. And by the time we were leaving power, we had succeeded in using it to bring down power to bring down inflation to as low as about 23%. This government has continued with the tight monetary policy until, I think, the last one, when they eased it a bit. In addition to that, they have decided to go for sterilization. Now, sterilization is part of the toolkit. In the short term, it may help you. In the long term, it has its consequences.
What is sterilization?
So sterilization is when you suck up or you collect money from the economy because you believe there's excess liquidity in the economy, and therefore it is pushing up demand and prices for goods and services. So when you are not dealing with the supply side issues that are causing inflation, you can come to the demand side and try and sterilize.
It's deliberate policy.
It's deliberate policy.
And it's allowable.
It's allowable.
Okay.
But the extent to which you go and how long you do it can have consequences for you. This government has already sterilized about 60 billion Ghana cedis from the Ghanaian economy.
What does that mean in practical
They have
terms?
collected 60 billion cedis from the Ghanaian economy because they believe it's excess liquidity and they've packed it at the central bank. That's what it means in practical terms. So that money is not available.
So they regulate the release.
Well, no, they have actually gone to the market to mobilize it and have locked it up at the central bank. And therefore, that money is not available to stimulate demand or to fuel production. In the short term, it will help you reduce inflation, but it can have its long-term consequences. I'm saying that they have kept the inflation, the tight monetary policy that we're running, and they have now added sterilization. Now, the target, if you look at end 2024, the target was that average inflation for 2025 using our program would be about 11.7%. They have kept the tight monetary policy, and then they have added sterilization to it. Despite that, inflation now is about 9.4, and the average, if you do the average for the year, is about 19%. So you will find that.
But is a projection on track? The
target was to do average 11.
Yes. Is it on track from 9?
Let's see what happens between now and the end of the year.
Okay.
But I'm saying to you, therefore, that the work that was started, you are seeing how it is being continued. And in some areas, they have added something. We may disagree on the extent of sterilization, but you see where our view is that this extent of sterilization is a bit too much. Because this kind of money, you can use other economic tools to allow other agencies in the economic space to mobilize that money to fund production so that people will get jobs and things out of that. But that's just one example on inflation. Take the exchange rate.
Yes.
So if you recall, in 2021, we argued that the normal functioning of the Ghanaian economy was not able to earn enough forex to defend the currency. And therefore, you recall the then Vice President, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, arguing about what we call the gold purchase program. And we rolled it out in 2021, aimed at helping us to earn more forex than the ordinary rhythm of the Ghanaian economy was earning. It was rolled out at a time when gold prices were not this high. This government, and it was operated between the PMMC and then the Bank of Ghana. When this government came to power, they've converted the PMMC to what they call the Gold Board. And the Bank of Ghana is still here. Now, gold prices are about $4,000 plus an ounce. Super windfall. And so this government is continuing with the program and is earning forex from it in consonance with the program we rolled out, and is now using the forex to do large chunks of intervention on the market for the currency to appreciate. So anybody who is being objective can plot the trend. Okay, where is this coming from? How is it going on? So and so and so. The question about that now becomes a question of sustainability and stability, because what
isn't it a question
want,
of management?
If I just may land, what traders want is stability in the currency so that they can plan. So there's a question of stability, there's a question of sustainability, and those are the things that we need to work towards.
Thinking it's a question of management, so that if we still had the same old managers now in power, would we have been seeing what we are seeing now?
Absolutely. You have forgotten that in the last, I think, half or the last quarter of 2024, when we had now started building a lot more reserves, we could afford to do intervention. That's when Governor Addison said that he could even bring the rate down to 10. I'm sure you recall. Because we had now started through Bawumia's gold purchase program, a model by which we could earn forex. Let me give you a clue. You remember the Mahama One administration? You remember?
I was here when he was
They
sworn in.
could not do this intervention. Why? Because that model had not been put in place. It was when, in 2021, we put that program in place that Ghana now had the ability to earn forex from our gold in this unprecedented manner. And when we started those interventions, you will recall the governor at the central bank saying at the time that with those interventions, we could go down to 10. That is what they have come and then they are doing. So, I mean, I think that sometimes we get too partisan who wants to take credit anything. Really, for me, that doesn't put food on the table. When you plot the trend, you can see. Now the question becomes, how do we build on that? And how do we ensure that when and if shocks in the global economy hit us, when and if the local political economy demands kick in, we will be able to sustain all of these. That's where I think we should be looking.
This is Face to Face on Channel One Television. My guest is Member of Parliament for Ofuase. Now let's talk about your work in Parliament and this your draft issue. But even before then, the minister responsible for the sector, Samuel Nate George, is from Ningo. Ningo is not far from Saglemi, where there's a housing project.
Yeah.
Which housing project for 8 years, your government was in office, you came to meet. I mean, looking at it from the road, I saw beautifully painted blocks, but for 8 years, nothing happened except rodents that were left to reside there. You moved to the ministry and said you had some master plan to turn it around. I'm not sure anything has happened there, has it?
Oh, no, to the contrary. So when I went to the ministry, we said what we needed to do was to put in place a public-private partnership to resolve it. And so you recall we came up with an elaborate program. We announced, we invited bids. Yeah. We publicly received the bids. We appointed a transaction advisor, Deloitte. They started the process of trying to identify which of the bidders was a successful bidder. And at the end of the day, we selected a successful bidder who on his or her own books was going to raise $100 million to finish the project because the project was uncompleted. No water, no electricity, no sewage system. And you couldn't put people to live there in those conditions. We signed the heads of terms. I signed the heads of terms agreement with the private developer who we had successfully picked. And after they made representations that they had now secured funding from the IFC to be able to go into that project and do the project. You recall that it was at the time that President, then candidate Mahama, went to campaign in Pram and said that he had heard we wanted to sell it and that when they come in, they were going to stop it or look into it. And we boldly defended that no, we were not selling Saglemi. It was a PPP arrangement and everything was kosher. They came in, they've looked into it. My intelligence suggests that everything is kosher around it. And if you go to the site, you will see the contractors preparing to continue with the work.
The one you left behind?
Yes, because in our time, the contractors went on site. It was when they were clearing the site that as they were burning things, there was a fire incident and there was this misinformation that there was an attempt to burn down Saglemi. In those, before election time, everybody was cooking some story to make, So those same contractors, we visited them on site several times. My intelligence is that they are back on site mobilizing to continue with the work that they started before we left office, using the PPP framework that we put
you left behind
in place. In which case, they will be funding the continuation of the Saglemi.
Let's hope that it really works because that's the dream of everybody. Now let's talk about this draft bill thing. There's no bill in Parliament like that. And yet, the former Minister Oppong Nkrumah is on the rooftop saying that this government is going to gag people and all of that. Where did you get this document from?
So let me say two things. First of all, we have never said that there's a bill before Parliament. Mm-hmm. The interview that I granted to the press, and I chose my words very carefully, I said that what we have seen today is a draft bill. And that the ministry says that they are doing consultations on the draft bill. Let's be very fair to the ministry, and even to my words. And that if what we have seen is anything to go by, then there are problems that we think the government needs to quickly backtrack on and ensure that by the time they finish their consultations and bring the bill to Parliament, it doesn't include those things. Primarily, it's about provisions that seek to criminalize speech and expression. And it is a big matter for us because the right to free expression is at the heart of a democratic society. A democratic society is a society in which people have the freedom to express various views. Anything you do that seeks to criminalize free expression infringes on the very foundations of democracy. There are provisions, and by the way, there are two pieces of legislation that the ministry is drafted and is doing the consultations. One is the Cyber Security Authority Amendment Bill, and the other is the Misinformation, Disinformation, Hate Speech and Other Information Bill.
All from Communication Ministry?
All from Communication Ministry. In fact, I have copies here that I can show to you. Mm-hmm. If you look between those two, what they seek to do is to strengthen the Cyber Security Authority and create some divisions. Now they want to create, for example, a court within the Cyber Security Authority, which will now be the one that determines what is misinformation and disinformation and execute punishment on people for misinformation and disinformation, which punishment is criminalization of speech. People could go to jail for as long as 10 years for publishing something that they argue, if you can give me the other one, for publishing something that they argue is false. On this other side, on the misinformation, disinformation, hate speech one, a television station like yours could have your license suspended by the same division within the, the Cybersecurity Authority for some offenses that they have defined. And for us, one of the primary red flags we are raising is that, listen, there are quite a number of issues wrong with this draft. But the part that deals with criminalizing speech should be expunged. We have already expunged criminal and seditious libel from our statute books. The Preventive Detention Act, which operated very much like these ones, you say something against Kwame Nkrumah and they'll say that you've conducted yourself in a manner which is prejudicial to the security of the state. We've moved away from it a long time ago. We cannot be going back to legislation that seeks to criminalize speech. I agree, and on my watch as information minister, there was a lot of misinformation, there was a lot of disinformation.
Which affected you on various fronts.
Absolutely.
And you don't want that nipped in the bud.
You take civil steps to address them. So there were a number of things that we tried to do. Let me give you a classic example. COVID. COVID comes, we work with Ghana Health Service, we find out that 1,500 people may have contracted it. We come and we announce that 1,500 people have come and have contracted COVID. At that time, you had NDC actors, you had media, you had civil society who would openly say that it is not true. The numbers are larger than what the government is telling us. Under this particular law, somebody could go to jail just for saying something like this, which now by these bodies that they are setting up will be interpreted as false news.
But what I've seen from the draft suggests that if you publish false news about a person knowing that it is false, that is wrong. And I'm not sure those who said doubted the COVID figures, for instance.
A person, no, so you see, first of all, it's false information. Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, a person who publishes this so-called false information, by the way, the false information is determined by them. A person who contravenes
but is false information not a matter of fact? Is it a matter of...
Yes, but who determines it?
If it's false, if you've said that, I am shot with a round pot belly. If I say, for example, that there are
1,500 people who have contracted COVID,
yes,
and you now publish that, no, it is not correct, it's 1,800. You remember those days during the COVID time?
But to be put to a test.
This body is the one that will say that what you are saying is true or not true. I'm coming. Now, after that, what is worrying, and I'm not saying that there shouldn't be a body that is responsible for making a determination. What is worrying is that a person who commits this offense is liable on summary conviction to a term of imprisonment of not less than 1 year and not more than 10 years. So this is dangerous.
So up to 10 years.
This is dangerous. Or a fine of less than 100 penalty units and not more than 10,000 penalty units. I'm saying that we don't criminalize speech or expression. Even if you find out that it is false, like on our watch, you have an obligation to rather use civil means to show the public that your information is correct. So COVID, what did we do? We now put together a whole platform with Ghana Health Service where now day-to-day data was being updated. We went further to even create sponsorship for training programs for journalists. You remember we went to Kumasi for the Media Capacity Enhancement Program, which started at the time to assist journalists who were even misinforming. They were misinforming inadvertently, but you have to help them to know how to do the right thing. There was a lot of public awareness that was created. We set up a joint monitoring center between the NMC and the NCA to be able to deal with egregious media content. In fact, one of the fundamental questions is, why do you want to create a division at the Cybersecurity Authority when the National Media Commission that has been created by the Constitution is sitting there and can do a good number of these
National Media Commission will tell you to go and retract and apologize. No, if what you have done borders on national security matters.
Strengthen them, give them the resources, let them monitor more, and let them exact whatever civil sanctions are required.
So if you now
choose to criminalize speech, that people should go to jail for up to 10 years because they've posted something in a WhatsApp group that you consider false, we are rolling back the frontiers of free expression that we have created. And I think it's very dangerous, and those provisions need to be expunged from this
Recently,
draft.
Someone decided to send messages to people asking them to send them money, pretending to be me, that I was going to visit my father in the village and all of that. That is criminal.
Yes.
Is using WhatsApp to do that. So you're saying that such a person should not be...
Act 29 has enough provisions to deal with defrauding by false pretenses. Act 30, which is the Criminal Offences Procedure Act, has enough provisions that allow the Ghana Police Service and the Cybercrime Unit at the Ghana Police Service to investigate, working with Signals Bureau or so to investigate and bring such people to book. When you now go and create a division and a court under the Cyber Security Authority and give them these powers and these monies to do this one, brother, it is a danger. I should draw your attention to the fact that there is an exercise, I am of the view that there's an exercise to suppress dissent in our democracy today.
And you think that is what is being enhanced here?
Today, it appears like it's being done to MPP members. So there are a lot of people who are like, oh, I don't care, it's just the MPP members. But I'm telling you that as laws like this are passed, don't be surprised if you, Umar Usanda Amadou, tomorrow post something on social media and you become a victim.
Do we not already have a law on publication of false news?
In fact,
I think someone was arrested
with the intent to cause fear and panic.
Fear and panic. Let
me tell you two
If we
things.
already have that,
let me tell you two things.
things.
There is already a lot of talk that even that law is the last remnant of the laws that criminalize expression and speech, and it should be taken off our statute books, even after we've taken off criminal and seditious libel. Now, there are worries about how this administration is applying that law. You saw the TikTokers who were remanded for 2 weeks in police custody for expression. Nobody is saying that what they expressed was okay or palatable, but for expression, 2 weeks in custody. You saw Kwambafa Bronye, who was remanded by the judge who quoted from the Animal Farm for
one of my favorite
2 weeks
novels.
in police custody, transported to court in vehicles kept for hardened criminals because he had expressed something that somebody was not happy with. We are gradually getting into dangerous territory. Today, unfortunately, people feel like it's not me, it's just the MPP people who are being chased by this government, so they don't care. If you allow laws like this to be passed, I pray for you.
But with freedom comes responsibilities.
Absolutely.
And with the advent of technology and all these new media,
there
should be no way of stopping. Let me let you answer this when I come back.
Okay.
This is Face to Face on ChannelOne Television. We'll talk more about this draft bill because I think there's a process in Parliament. So, has it even been brought to Parliament? No. Do they have to do stakeholder consultations? Yes. When can he arrest this bill that he thinks is offensive to the Ghanaian people? Please stay with us. You're welcome back. This is Face to Face on ChannelOne Television. I'm Umaru Sandamad. My guest is former Minister for Information, former Minister for Works and Housing, plenty formers, former journalist, and Member of Parliament for Ofuasia Yerebi. I know you don't agree that you're a former journalist, but you are. I put it to you. I'm saying
not comment.
No comment. Before I went on the break, we're talking about this draft, and I'm saying that people have freedom now on TikTok. People have freedom on all these social media things.
Yes.
Does it then allow them, because they have freedom to and if you read the thing you've highlighted,
nobody has said that.
Telling untruths.
Nobody has said that.
So
there are enough.
So government said we'll stop them from doing that.
There are enough.
If they come and say things about you, will you be happy?
I am not happy when people say things about me that are untrue, that are untoward.
So arrest them.
I know you use civil remedies to deal with them. You are studying to become a lawyer. Listen, when you want to promote a democracy, you don't do this. You don't give such powers to bodies like this, because when you do, if I may, when you do, these laws in the hands of an authoritarian, you will be shocked at what it will be used for. You know, when people were passing the PDA,
they will say that the law is the law.
When people were passing the PDA, there were people making justifications like what you are doing. In the end, some of those people themselves were arrested under the Preventive Detention Act, and people died in custody for it. You don't pass such laws in the first place. I am saying that when people do these untoward things on social media, there are enough civil remedies to deal with them. Quite recently, there was one gentleman who went on social media to accuse me of being involved in Galamsey, that myself and my wife were involved in. I sued him.
What if he's a man of straw? You wasted your time.
Oh, I will exact my punishment. When I get the judgment from the court, I know how to ensure that I get my...
the man has nothing.
No, I know how to... And that is why the radio station on which he said it, which also published it, was jointly and severally liable in that suit. In the end, they had to come and settle. I'm saying that there are enough civil ways to deal with it. But to say that a man should be put in handcuffs and put in jail for 10 years because he said something that is considered false by the Cybersecurity Authority is dangerous territory. If you don't agree with me, that is fine.
But the authorities...
Tomorrow, it will be done to you. Today, the government wants to consult on it. As part of that consultation, we are preferring a view. I have written, I'll be sending my letter to the minister, that we have come across these ones. As a former information minister, respectfully, as my brother, I think that these things should be expunged from it. I'm also speaking to it publicly. I'm hoping that by the time the final bill is brought to Parliament, these bits will be expunged from
But even if it's
because it is dangerous for our democracy.
I spoke to your colleague for the man who replaced Bagby in Parliament as Speaker, constituency, Nadoli Kaleo. He said Parliament will go through a clause by clause.
Absolutely.
So he thinks that this whole noise, he said noise, what you are saying now is amounts to much ado about nothing, knowing that by the time this bill comes before Parliament and by the time it goes through consideration, all of that, it would have been cleaned and it would be a decent piece of legislation that
because
would
of the work we are doing. It takes people like us to go through it, to find it. This is page 25 of the Cybersecurity Bill, to find it, to highlight it, to draw their attention to it so that it's done. If we leave it to people like him, they'll just sit there and say, it will be cleaned up, it will be cleaned up, and before you realize these things will pass. I have gone through this thing before. I have seen instances where bills are brought to the floor, and sometimes even the number of people in the chamber to peruse it properly is inadequate. And that is why we are taking pains to do this, so that we get the lawmaking process in this country right.
The anti-disinformation and misinformation bill, that's also something that is at a draft stage.
That is a second bill.
Is that all right in the form that you have seen it?
That
because
also
now
has
you have
some
highlighted
very interesting provisions. For example, they are creating a court or a division, like as I mentioned, within the Cybersecurity Authority. No, they call it a court.
Okay.
The court of the division. So they are creating a division within the Cybersecurity Authority, and they'll create a court within it. The court of the division shall apply and or interpret the act to establish liability.
Which kind of court? In the sense of how we have the court system, or this is...
So I think that more people should take interest in this and read it.
No, read the framing. Let's see what it says.
I'm coming. I think that more people should take interest in this and read it. But I'm saying to you that they are setting up a court which will be responsible for these interpretations, and which will now be the ones, among other things, to license what they call fact checkers. So let me show you what's going to happen, among other things. They are going to, under these drafts, they are going to license what they call fact checkers. Fact checking is a thing that is done.
Yeah.
But under this, they are going to accredit or license fact checkers. So that now when you speak, and they are of the view that what you have said is not true, it's the fact checkers who will determine whether what you've said is true or not. Are you sure you want that in Ghana?
Oh, remember, 3 days ago,
yeah,
I saw a video of a girl on social media. She's supposed to be a new student at the senior high school, and she was being shaved, her hair.
Yeah.
A few days later, I heard that this was an AI-generated video.
Okay.
Should we not have... So fact checkers like Dubawa, FactGan, and those people, they usually do these things for us.
Yeah.
But if they themselves are not properly trained and they are not licensed, where do we end? Because there's a video of me and John Dumelo out there apparently advertising some government thing, which is not true.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm sure they will do some for you if they already haven't done
some for me, yeah.
Should we not have some stringent measures? Because, listen, it's a new territory
we have
we are
not
entering.
said we should not have. Relax.
Yes, so if there's going to be... I'm seeing this court like a tribunal.
No. Saying that this approach of the government being the one that now determines who an accredited fact checker is dangerous. You don't give that power to a government.
Was your Ministry of Information not accrediting media houses?
Which one did we accredit?
Which
one did we accredit to be a fact checker?
Yeah, maybe fact-checking at the time was not a thing. Now it's a thing.
This is a law. First of all, that is not even law. This is a law that seeks to accredit fact checkers. So that now, when you say something, somebody else is now the accredited person who will say whether what you are saying is true or is not true. I'm saying that it is dangerous territory. When it comes to Chapter 12 of our Constitution, go and read the reports of the Constituent Assembly. There was an extensive debate in which the country concluded that we will prefer a system of free expression, even with ugly noises in it, to a culture of silence. I am of the view that it is important that we regulate the space. But regulation does not mean to criminalize speech or to put into it provisions like that. You have noticed that, I mean, there are provisions on cyberbullying, cyber stalking, etc.
You don't have a problem with
I don't have a problem with those ones. I think those ones are all well intended. It is these specific ones that seek to criminalize expression that I'm very worried about as a former information minister. I've also told you that you have a National Media Commission created by the Constitution that is actually even mandated to do some of the things that are being given to this division to do. And I'm saying that for those parts, you are better off giving them to the NMC. The monies you want to give to the Cybersecurity Authority, 50% or so of fines, about 9% or so of communication service tax, give some of the resources to the National Media Commission so that they will be bolstered. And they are an independent body with people drawn from all segments of the society.
But they are toothless. They are toothless.
So give them teeth.
The teeth is this one. They'll give it to the. They give it to the.
Give the teeth to them. Don't go and create your own division under the control of a minister, which is now going to say that they have the powers for seizure. In fact, they can even do ex-parte applications in court to get permission to come for your phone and your laptop and your computer,
Yeah,
because
but the fact that
they believe that there is some information on it. Why is it not on notice?
But we still have that, even currently.
No, why is it not on notice? No, you are legislating.
But the judge will still have a say.
No, now you are making a law that says that they have ex-parte provisions to do.
So the judge cannot challenge.
No, the judge will ask some questions, but the other side is not on notice to be there to respond to it. Go back to your constitution about where we provide for the privacy of individuals and the right of people to own property without interference, and ask me if it is therefore appropriate to make a law that says that an authority like this can go to court ex parte and be given permission to come and invade in your privacy. I think that's on dangerous grounds.
The NSA doesn't have those powers currently?
The American government is on record to do waterboarding.
Yes.
Does that mean that we should be doing it here?
Finally, you have said that...
You didn't answer my question.
No, I think I have to ask you questions and you answer. You know, the time when you used to ask questions are long gone.
That is why I didn't object when you said, I am a former journalist.
Last question. You said that you think this is a deliberate policy by the government. Could it be inadvertent, or you think this is deliberate?
I see a pattern where the government wants to suppress dissent. They started it with people working in the public services who were perceived to be MPP people. Sack them. They won't get access to any information, and then they'll come and say they have intercepted this or that. And the cover story they gave was that some of them were recruited after 7th December. It turns out that a lot of people who have been sacked, even to director level, were ahead of time. Then they brought it to MPs. You talk in parliament, they send BNI to your home. Most of you covered it. You were not realizing the pattern at the time. Then they took it to the judiciary, found some trumped up charges and got rid of the Chief Justice. And now, you remember that candidate Mahama announced that they were going to appoint NDC people onto the bench. Those were his words.
He said they should apply.
Those were his words. Now we're seeing a lot of appointments. I don't know whether that's in fulfillment of that one. Then they came down to journalists and TikTokers. You say something on TikTok, as unpalatable as that may be, go in for 2 weeks, etc. This is the next step. And I'm saying they are coming for you.
I will dodge. This is Face to Face, how we end today's edition. Minister, he just threatened me and I'm going to tell the police. He said they will come for me. But that's former Minister for Information, MP for Fasa, Kojo Oppong Nkrumah. He was my guest on Face to Face. I am Umaru Sandamadu. Thank you so much. Stay with Channel One Television.